Is it recording? Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulil kareem, amma ba'd. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the basics. So the purpose of this is to lay our foundation. So it won't be directly and immediately all the time linked to a dawah stool situation. It's just as a Muslim, when I'm having a conversation with someone that's not a Muslim, how do I go about it? Where do I start? What's the foundations of our conversation? And so on. And then once you know the structural information, then you'll be confident to go into any dawah stool and say, look, let me talk to a non-Muslim person. Okay, this is how I have a conversation. You'll be confident because you know the foundations, you know the basics, inshallah. So we do have a lot to cover. And so let's see, I'll try my best to deliver as to the best of my ability, inshallah. But like I said, this is just one student of knowledge, exchanging notes with other students of knowledge. You will know some information, you have knowledge that I don't have, feel free to share, so we can all benefit, inshallah. If I have some knowledge that you don't have, I'll share that, I'll be sharing that with you, inshallah. Most of the stuff you'll probably know already. It's just about contextualizing and putting an order to our knowledge, basically. So most of the stuff, I'm sure most of you guys will know anyway, the brothers and sisters. And can you guys hear me properly? Yeah. And if you can't, just feel free to sit closer to the curtain. Okay. Any questions before we start? Who's had gone through a dawah training before? So I know Fayaz has. Fayaz is the one that inspired, was it Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawah, and everyone else to come into the scene. It wasn't just you, it was other brothers as well. So Fayaz has who else was it? Ismail.
Last weekend.
Oh yeah, last weekend. Who was here last weekend? Okay, half of us. Wahiz, you weren't here last weekend? And Nafisa was here. Is it Aisha over there? Well, the sisters' names are here. Nafisa and? Oh, Amina. Okay, and who else is there? Okay, that's fine. So in terms of, okay, so the first few slides will be very, very basic for everyone, inshallah. So, and this is just to make sure we're all in the same field, because they're different. We come from different backgrounds, different exposure to Islam, Islamic discussions or whatnot. So just to make sure, we're going to fly through this very quickly. So here we're just going to understand terms such as Islam, Muslim, the role of messengers, and so on, just in case. And that's all it is. So we're going to fly through this briefly. Originally, these slides were made for our 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old students. So that's why they may be a bit basic, but just keep that in mind, inshallah. Okay, so go on. I'm sure everyone knows the terms. So, and if you don't know the terms, nothing to be embarrassed about. We're all here to learn. Okay, Tawheed. Put your hands up if you know what Tawheed is. Okay, that's fine. Tawheed. Go on, Ismail. Tawheed.
The oneness of Allah.
Tawheed, good. Anything else about Tawheed? Anything else?
And maybe emphasizing that he has no partners.
Okay. Anything else? Tawheed? I would actually say that's the wrong answer. I would say that's the wrong answer. Not the greatness of Allah, no. Belief in the oneness. Uniqueness. Praising is hamd, worship is ibadah. Different words. Sorry? Monotheism. It's linked to it, of course. Sisters, feel free to answer, okay? And try and sit close to the curtain so I can hear you as well. Because I'm loud, but you guys aren't loud. So try and sit next to the curtain. As closer to me as possible. Okay, Tawheed. Tawheed is actually from the Bab Taf'il, which means it's a transitive verb, which means to proclaim the oneness. So inward belief is just iman, belief. But wahada yuwahidu tawheed in Arabic language means to proclaim something. So tawheed is to proclaim the oneness of Allah. But of course you can have a loose translations, monotheism, oneness of Allah, one God, and so on and so on. Tawheed, so Tawheed is to proclaim the oneness of Allah. Any slides, anything that's on the screen will be given to you later on, so just keep that in mind. So anything that's on the slide, that's for you. Okay, and Islam, put your hands up if you know the literal definition of Islam, put your hands up. And sisters, you have to say me, so I can hear you. Okay, go on, Hanif. Good, submission. So Islam literally means to submit. So Islam literally means to submit. And so Islam, there's two aspects to the meaning of Islam. One is the literal dictionary definition, which is to submit or submission. And then it's also a name applied to a religion, isn't it? Yeah? It's also a name applied to our religion, which is the religion that we follow. Yeah? So what it literally means to submit. Submit to what? Everyone? Yeah. But when you're talking to a non-Muslim, how do you say that? Sorry, sister? To one God. Yeah, to one God, to the will of God. Yeah, so we're a religion that submits to the will of God. That's generally how I like to phrase it. It seems a bit better. Because when you say submit, like, I know people have like crazy ideas in their head, submitting to what and who? To the will of our Creator. So Islam means a submission to the will of our Creator.
So where did the idea of Islam means peace come from? If it means submission, where does it mean peace come from?
Okay, good question. So if Islam means submission, where did the idea of peace come from? These are good questions. So anyone, any question you have while you're, interrupt me straight away and ask your question, inshallah. Unless it's a very annoying question, and I'll say I'll come to that later. Well, I'm joking. There's no annoying question, inshallah. Someone answer that, please. So if Islam means submission, why do people say Islam means peace? We always like to say that to non-Muslims, isn't it?
Yeah, is it because of like the letters, like you can spell out salam, which means peace?
Perfect. So how the Arabic language works, it works with root letters. So the root letters are sin, lam, and mim. Yeah? Sin, lam, and mim. Now, how you change these root letters around, when you add to them, it changes the meaning slightly. So one of the derived meanings of sin, lam, mim is peace. One of the derived, so when you add an alif in between, it becomes salam, then means peace. If you add a hamzatul wasl in the beginning and an alif in the middle, it becomes Islam, which means submission. If you add a shadda in the middle, sallama, it becomes to hand over. If you add, yes, we get the word taslim. Taslim, sallama yusallimu tasliman, it means to hand over. Yeah, so you had a question.
So is there any reason why these terms are related enough to have the roots letters?
That's just how Arabic works. Sometimes the meanings are interconnected. Sometimes the meanings have got nothing to do with each other. Yeah.
So just to summarize, so salam means peace, Islam means submission, not Islam means peace.
Yeah, but like they are interconnected. They are interconnected. Yeah. So generally the rule is when words are from the same root word, the meanings are connected to each other in some way or form.
The way we used to say is that the only way you get true peace is through submission.
Yeah. Okay, so we discussed Tawheed. Tawheed means?
Proclaiming the one.
Yes, that's a trick question, just to see who's awake. To proclaim the oneness of Allah. Islam means? Submission. Okay, and so now, if you look at the root letters of a Muslim, it's also Sin. This M is an additional letter. So get rid of the M, Sin, Lam, and Mim. S, L, and M again. So this is another derived word from the root letters Sin, Lam, and Mim. So Muslim is derived from the same root letter. So a person that submits, what do we call them? Muslim. So was Jesus a Muslim? Was Moses a Muslim? Yes, Abraham was a Muslim. All of these different prophets were a Muslim. So that's why you might hear du'at, people calling towards Allah. You say, look, Moses, Abraham, and Jesus were Muslims. Ask me why. Yeah, because the definition of Islam is to submit to the will of God. All prophets submitted to the will of God. That's why they were Muslims. We are also Muslims because we submit to the will of God. Make sense? And then we have a messenger. Messenger is someone that was sent by Allah, of course. What's the Arabic term for messenger? Rasul. And what's the prophet in Arabic? Nabi. What's the difference? Okay, yeah, Rasul was generally sent with a revelation or with a specific scripture or a specific task. For example, Harun, alayhi salam. Who was his brother? Musa or Moses? Was Harun a Rasul or a Nabi? He was a Rasul. If any messenger is specified, well, not specified, what's the word? Was singled out for a specific task, then they become a Rasul as well. Rasul, just the hierarchy of prophets, Rasul and Nabi. So if someone has a more of a special hierarchy, they become a Rasul. So either with a new Sharia, new book, or specific task. That's why Ismail alayhi salam was also a Rasul, although he didn't get any scriptures or books or Sharia. Okay, so Tawheed, Islam, Muslim, and Messenger. Okay, so let's just quickly go through this. So when it comes to defining Islam, there's two perspectives, of course. One is a literal definition, and one is the definition giving to a group of a religion. Okay, so we don't need to go through this.
Can I just,
Yeah.
all the Nabis come with a specific task?
No, some Nabi that their job was just to remind. Oh, by the way, look, we had a Rasul, follow him. Specific task, as in, let's say Allah said, go to this place and give da'wah to this person specifically, like Harun was sent to Fir'aun, for example. Okay, so let's just quickly skim through all of this and we'll go to the next PowerPoint. Okay, so in a nutshell, we should be able to explain to a non-Muslim what Islam means. Islam literally means submission, and it's also the name of our religion, and anyone submits to the will of God is regarded as a Muslim. And for us to know what the will of God is, God sent messengers. And these messengers from the time of Adam, Moses, Noah, Abraham, till today. So the purpose of these messengers was to teach us what is the will of God. So we should be able to just summarize what Islam is. Islam, Muslim, and messengers. And the purpose and the first and most important message of all of these messengers was to proclaim Tawheed, was to teach us about the oneness of God. How many messengers did God send? Is it 124,000? There's actually different narrations. There is a narration of 100,000, which is a weak narration. There's another narration of 124,000, which is also a weak narration. There is another opinion of 8,000. I'm just quoting from memory. I read this article on it, or paper on it a long time ago, about 7-8 years ago. But from the summary of the articles, I think the most stronger opinion was 8,000. But yeah, but we don't, it's vaguely basically. We don't have a definitive answer of exactly how many prophets were sent. All we know is that many times there were many prophets in one place, one time. But basically Allah sent many prophets. And the purpose of these prophets was then to teach us morals, ethics, how to be good, but everything is after Tawheed. Essentially what He wants us to do with our lives. How many messengers did God send? Okay, it's not been answered here. But anyway. Okay, so after you explain to a person, why did God send so many different messengers then? And so many different religions. Okay, it makes sense. Islam means submission. We submit to the will of God. And a Muslim is someone that submits to the will of God. And you're telling me that the prophets, the first and foremost call was towards Tawheed, towards worship one of God. Why did God confuse all of us then by sending us so many different religions? Why didn't He just send one religion from the time of Adam, from the time of Muhammad? All religions will be the same and it'd be so much easier for us. So why is it confusing us with so many different religions that He created and sent down? Okay? Put your hands up if you can answer me this. You're in a dawah stall and a non-Muslim asks you this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, hands down for now. Sisters, how many sisters are there now? None of us. How should we do this?
Why don't you just give them a mark? Let them know mark.
They're not speaking loud enough here.
I mean, you can open your curtain just a little bit so we can hear you better.
Ideally, the preferred is that the sisters should be like in the back of the hall and the brothers front, so they can see them. Or else they're just oppressed. They're not. They're probably just on their phones. I don't know what they're doing.
Come on the kitchen side as well.
Just eating sweets during lessons. How are you guys with the setup? Or should I open the curtain slightly so you can see me a bit? Or
Can they see the slides? Is it on the screen?
yeah, they can see the slides. Okay, because yeah, maybe for next time we'll sort something out a bit better. It'd be good to see even from the sisters what hands are up, and so to make sure that you're learning and not disadvantaged. Okay, but anyway, so go on. Let's see this. Okay, from the sisters. So it's on the slide. No, wrong question. This question. Okay, so why did God confuse everyone by sending down so many different religions? Why didn't He just send down one religion? Someone from the sisters.
Perception about the religion.
And sisters, are you sitting close to the curtain, please? Everyone? Just come towards the curtain because none of the brothers can hear. And I'm right next to the curtain, I can't hear.
How can you see the PowerPoint if you're facing the curtain?
No, not facing, just like move towards the curtain, facing the PowerPoint.
And you people talk louder.
My record, oh no. Not on Zoom. Okay, it's recording. Okay, sorry, one of the sisters was giving the answers.
It's about how each of us perceive this message about religion.
So imagine that I am a non-Muslim and I've asked you these questions. You have to explain it to me from the basics. Why did God send so many religions to confuse us? Why not just send down one clear message, one clear religion?
Because everyone has a mind and the way they see the message is different. They can perceive it in a different way.
That's true, but I don't think that's answering my question. So let's say my question is, why did God send down Christianity and then Judaism and then Hinduism and Buddhism and send down so many different religions? That just confuses me. If you just only sent down Islam from the beginning, then that would be so much easier.
I think from the beginning, God has sent the same message for us. That is the Tawheed. And later on, it's us who made, different views and different. We have made our own religion. That's what I want to say.
Okay. From the brothers, anything to add?
So from what I get is that it was always the same message and it kept getting corrupted each time, or there was always like a bit more to add to it, and each prophet said to their group of people that there'll be another prophet after me, and in a way that's also testing people's patience and their promises with God, and they should wait on it, and each time they've kind of failed.
Okay, so the prophets, they brought the same message each time, is that correct?
Yeah.
So you're saying like the religion that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ brought is exactly the same as Jesus's and Moses's?
The essence of Tawheed was the same.
What was different? The laws were different. Oh, okay.
So I'll say that Allah didn't send down many religions. It was always the same one, the Tawheed, as we mentioned. So the confusing aspect isn't because Allah did it, it's because the people did it to themselves.
Well, what I normally do with an analogy is like the view of a baby. Because at the beginning, a baby has got certain needs and requirements. As it grows and grows and grows, it becomes more and more mature. So as a baby, you're not going to need to know about economic legislation and divorce. Adam alayhi salam doesn't need to know about that at that point. So as the society grew and became more and more mature, the policy of Islam was the final revelation. And then the other aspect I would say is in terms of communication as well, because communication communication, you know, we had writing and letters and stuff like that. So the dissemination was a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah.
All of that, all of what you said is absolutely right. Judaism, Bani Israel, had a particular message from God. So in that sense, you know, it's specific to at that time, you know, and whereas the message from Muhammad was universal for all of mankind. You know, so there is, so yeah, the word religion is slightly different, but the message, you know, was slightly focused and then widely.
Mm.
I can say it in those sense.
Okay. Let's come. Yeah.
Only the Quran was protected by Allah and the angels. The other books weren't.
Okay. Yeah. Of course. So.
I mean, so I have another view to it. This is for sure. Whenever Allah, from the beginning, from Adam to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the message is there. Okay. But then the question is why there are different religions. This is another quality of the human being, which is free will.
Mm.
If there is no other choice, what's the fun? Why to come to this world? This Jahannam and Jannah.
Okay. I would say you're diverging off the topic. Yeah, so this is a very, very specific question. So we don't want to diverge onto things that are related but not answering the question directly. Okay, so the first thing I would say, okay, so we all know the answer, but it's just about articulating the answer in perhaps the most nuanced way so that anyone will understand. So that's what it is. We all know the answer. We're all Muslims. We've been studying for a long time. We all know this. Just when I'm in a situation, when you're talking to people, different people have different intellectual abilities as well, intellectual capacities. But generally, what we do. Okay, so. Okay, so so generally what we teach our students is that every prophet came with two things. So one is the beliefs, yeah, beliefs. So all the beliefs that all of the prophets taught were exactly the same. All the prophets from the time of Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or peace be upon all of them, they all taught, in terms of beliefs, they all came with exactly the same message. There's no difference. They all taught about the oneness of God. They all taught that that there is the heaven, hell, there is the day of judgment. They taught about the last day, and so on and so on. So in terms of the beliefs, there is no different. It's not that Jesus taught a different tawheed to Moses, or Moses taught a different tawheed to the Prophet Muhammad or Adam. In terms of beliefs, all of the prophets, they taught exactly the same. But the difference was the laws. And of course, laws are there to suit the time and place. Even in England till today, 100 years ago, the laws were different because when times change, laws need to change as well. So if the laws were constant from the time of Adam till the Prophet Muhammad till today, our lives would be very hard, it would be difficult and be miserable. The purpose of the laws is to fulfill and meet the demands of the people in terms of what they need at that specific time. And that changes from nation to nation, from time and place. So that's why we say God did not send new religion, but every single prophet that God sent or messenger he sent them with exactly the same message in terms of beliefs. But what differed from prophet to prophet or messenger to messenger was the laws that they brought, and because the purpose of the laws is to suit the time and place. So that is a message that anyone can understand. So now Jesus, he preached the same message in terms of oneness of God, heaven and hell, afterlife, day of judgment. But what was different about him? Yes, he taught different laws because it's a different time and place. Moses, same thing. Abraham, same thing. Isaac, Job, whoever it is, yeah.
What would you say to someone that says the laws in the Quran are 1400 years old, don't suit our time now? That's not a common question.
Okay.
Obviously, the laws changed from Musa alayhi salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi time. So 1400 years later, our laws, a lot of non-Muslims next today don't suit the time that it would have.
Okay, because our laws don't allow us to go out to a Friday night for a pub and. Okay. So in terms of that, from an Islamic perspective, so we understand, yeah. The Islamic perspective is that, of course, we all know the Quran is there to remain until the day of judgment, because the Prophet Allah has declared there will be no more prophet after him, and he is the final messenger. His Sharia, his laws that he brought, is there for until the end of their judgment. Whereas that was not the case for previous messengers. Their laws were for a specific time, and they were meant to end when the new Sharia comes out from the next Rasul. Does that make sense so far? So that's the first thing I'd tell them. Okay. Now when it comes to the laws of Islam, there's two types of laws. There are those which are canon and concrete laws which will never change. For example, the 5 times salah. For example, the zakat for the wealthy, or performing hajj for those that are able to make that journey. And so these are the concrete laws. Now, and besides them are the, what you can say, dhanni, what's the Arabic, English term? Speculative laws. Or, so laws that can change based on circumstances, time and place. Those laws that are based on, many of our laws are based on urf, custom and tradition. So there's enough flexibility, in Islam has enough flexibility to suit the time and place while maintaining its canon laws. Does that make sense? So, but now that person, they ask me, okay, what kind of laws are you talking about? They're probably talking about like hudud, capital punishment, and all of these things. Well, then that's a slightly different discussion, the benefits of, let's say, the capital punishment system and so on. But the strange thing is, what I do? I go into these non-Muslim forums and I see like, so when something happens on the news, or this rapist or someone abusing children, and if you look at the comments, behead him from non-Muslims. They're saying like all these harsh stuff should be done upon him. Like, you guys are calling for the Sharia, we're not even doing it. So they realize that, when they're angry and the bad things happen. But anyway.
Sheikh, let's add in. So, examples of laws that may have been changed from pre-Islam and then post-Islam. So, I'm aware that in the Jewish law, when a woman is going through the time of the month, they actually are told to be in an area outside of their home, because that's their understanding of purity. Whereas in Islam, we don't have that concept. So that's one example of how one law has been changed with the Islamic Sharia. Just to give an example.
Yeah, the Jewish law is a lot more stricter than Islam. And the Christian laws, Christianity was a lot more lenient. So Islam came to be that balance in between. So even like, I don't know, of course I'm not a Jewish rabbi, so please don't quote me on this. So even when they have to do the ghusl of janaba, they need to use the rainwater or something, isn't it? And I think they need to go to the synagogue as well. Imagine that, like the ghusl of janaba, using rainwater and then going to the synagogue and doing it. So imagine like before Fajr Salah, everyone's like lining up, with a towel, what you've been doing.
And similarly, I think the technicalities of what breaks their fasting is a lot stricter than compared to ours. So again, just examples of how some of the Sharia may have changed.
But I think you've got to understand, especially with the Torah, not all of it is from God. A lot of it is from the rabbis. So it not necessarily was that strict as it is now. It might have just been from the rabbis.
So basically, from what I understand, is the Torah obviously may have been corrupted, probably has, but they have so it has 613 laws in total. So 10 commandments are what we know, that's the basic one, and they have 613 laws, and then they have the Talmud, which is like their version of a hadith. So it's the oral debating between their chief rabbis about how these laws are applied. So that goes into the whole thing about it.
Yeah, and I think they've got their principles. Their rabbis is almost better than gods as well, because I think in their scriptures they're talking about having debates with God. The rabbis having debates with God and winning as well. So even physically, I think one of their guys, David, was it?
It was Jacob.
Jacob, yeah, he had a physical fight with God as well.
That was in the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And didn't he trick God and beat him?
Yeah, and he beat him.
And that's where,
physically beat him.
from there on, he got given the name Israel.
Yeah.
After that dream.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So generally the Old Testament, the Torah, has a lot of like Greek mythology mixed in, isn't it? Because there was one point they were heavily influenced by the Greeks. But anyway, I think I remember Paul Williams, Blogging Theology, had a good session on this.
Okay, so there's one thing. So if someone to come up to you with the question, why did God bring so many religions down? Is it to confuse us, right? So if I'm imagining someone asking me that, like you'd probably respond with, God sent down messengers who all preached, who all gave the same like beliefs. So they taught humanity to believe in all, like the same things, to believe in one God, and to heaven after hell and day of judgment and stuff like that. However, over time, as time
No,
passes,
but you only said half of the answer. Supposed to.
Yeah. So the beliefs were all the same. However, they all gave different laws that were for their certain time period. And as new messengers were sent, different laws were given, but all of the beliefs were consistent. So why is it that when you have different religions, the beliefs are different? If all of the messengers gave the same, preach the same beliefs, why are all of the beliefs different now? And then you would say, like, that was never God that changed his beliefs. It was the people who interpreted them differently, and then they became separate religions.
Okay, so how it became separate religions? Okay, so number one is, the previous scriptures were distorted by people. They added stuff, they took stuff away, yeah? So that changed stuff. Now, when a new message, so let's say Jesus, for example, yeah? So he brought certain beliefs and he brought certain laws, yeah? But was that supposed to be till the end of time, or was that supposed to be until the next messenger comes out? When a new messenger comes out, you're supposed to stop following the older messenger and follow the new messenger. It's like a prime minister. Prime minister will be there, he'll give his rule, but when a new prime minister comes out, you're not supposed to keep following the old prime minister. Does that make sense? So people that kept on following the old prime minister, they were called something else. Does that make sense? Yeah, so God didn't create a new religion. It's just those people who refused to follow the new prophet, the new messenger, and stuck to the previous messenger. They became a certain group, and they were known as, let's say, Christians, for example, later on. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, everyone? Okay, so any questions about anything that we've done so far? So this is like the foundation, we're just laying the foundations, yeah.
So even the laws themselves within, you gave examples of Jewish versus Christian versus Islam. Even with Islam, the laws can change as well, some of them.
Yeah, of course, yeah. There's flexibility in Islam for laws. Not.
So for example.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Smoking. I think you go back 30 years, smoking wasn't considered around. It was probably more considered before. And then later on it became, more recently it's more considered around.
Yeah.
Those kind of interpretations, those kind of things.
Yeah, you can say that,
But is it more correct to say it's not the case of the laws in Islam change, it's how it's applied? They change based on new information or
this whole time to time and place to place does affect those laws as well.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. So when you study fiqh in depth, there's an entire book that we studied on customs and norms, entire book. So you have to look at norms and customs, how they work, customs over countries, customs over cities, customs of few individuals. There's so many books written on urf. It's called the chapter of urf. But yeah, so this is a big subject in Islamic fiqh. Okay, so this is the foundations we've just established here of Tawheed, Islam, Muslim, and different messengers and religions, just so we're able to have basic conversations about this, inshallah. Okay, so again, just to remind you guys, so this was, and for the brothers and sisters that are coming new, these slides were initially, I've taught this before at the basic level with the children in our madrasa. So that's why it's like teacher and student scenarios and stuff. So this is supposed to be role-playing in school when your teacher asks you this question. And one of our students famously got detention for applying the script in not this one, from the next slide, next presentation, in class. So the teacher was arguing, saying, no, we don't need religion anymore because of this. And the students started answering back using our lines. No, we do need religion because of X, Y, and Z. And he's just quoting from the PowerPoint. And he won the debate, but he got detention for answering back. But alhamdulillah, job done.
Honourable detention then.
Well, alhamdulillah, his mum messaged in and saying, like, I'm so happy with my child. He was the only one or two Muslims in a class of 30-something, and he was able to defend Islam intellectually and be proud. I'm a proud Muslim, which is alhamdulillah extraordinary. Okay, so let's just have this quick conversation, especially because main thing I want, this information, we all know this. We all know this information. It's just about getting our wording correctly, especially the last one about the beliefs and laws. So we need to practice. If anyone wants to make any notes as you're going along, so you can have a proper conversation afterwards with each other, please do make notes, bullet points on your phone, or whatever you need. If you don't need to, mashallah, you have a computer in your brain, then that's fine as well. So we will be talking to each other, and I'll be asking you questions, so we're able to make sure we can articulate everything properly, inshallah. So what you can do is, okay, let's have a discussion using the script with each other. God, let's just go through it. So I normally use a script like this, because if we just tell two people to talk to each other, we start talking about Pakistan and the politics there and Bangladesh, what's happening, and the conversation just diverts, isn't it? Yeah? So everyone, let's just, with the person next to you, just go through this basic script. And I'm going to have these few conversations with yourselves afterwards. Just make sure you know how to word everything properly. And just listen to the person next to you being worded. So let's start now. So I'll give you about 3 minutes. 3 minutes. So go on, sisters. There should be a lot of noise on your side. So get straight to the point.
Islam means to submit.
My name is and what do you do to become a Muslim? Islam is the belief that we should submit to God.
Submit to God and His will, then you are
What do you actually become a Muslim? So to be a Muslim, you just have to be someone who submits to the will of God.
Yeah, so God sent many messengers all throughout time since the beginning of humanity, all the way and all of these
yes, he sent many messengers, some of which you may know, like Noah, Moses,
to each of their
but some of them in the Bible, but he sent many others outside the Bible. You might have heard of it. So we would know, since some of the things we need to know what God wants from us. And those messages tell us what God wants.
Did all the messengers teach the same thing? I wouldn't use the word religion. I would say they all gave the same belief. So they all told everyone to believe in God. One God.
Well, we don't believe he was right, we believe that he was
So they all teach the same general message and the same general belief. The only thing that differs
and most completely new religions, we believe that he should win us in time. God has sent down his will. So Muhammad was just reaffirming what was to the people.
So why do we have different prophets with different religions? So why would God send so many messages?
So we believe that
different religions. So why would God
so we believe that the beliefs in the sense of there being a one true God, there being a heaven and a hell, those things are the same. But because there was a different time and a place, and some of those civilizations are slightly different laws, the laws that they set down are slightly different. Because God is all-knowing and He knows what laws are best for us. When Muhammad came down, he came down to all of humanity, and those laws apply to all.
a very precise, simple way.
Well, part of Islam is faith, so you have to have faith in God.
So this was all of them preached the same thing. The only difference between them is the law of God. What's all this Islam about? If they all preach more or less.
Okay, 1 more minute.
And that's because God didn't somehow change his belief. It's not like one day God says, believe in one God, then believe in 20 gods, then believe in reincarnation. God didn't ever change that. It was people and their interpretation over time that
Can't you reach? Can't you reach?
Both the sockets are being used.
Okay, give me 1 second.
So how many? So how what
Well, is there going to be a tea break?
Yeah. Come on, okay, we've only been here for 5 minutes. You want a tea break already?
I thought it started at 10:30.
Yeah.
You said at Jumma 10:30.
You know why I said 10:30? Because you told me it was 10:30.
I thought it was last week, so it was 10:30.
That was last week. This week it was set for 10 o'clock.
Zayn thought the same thing as well.
Yeah, that's because I announced it for 10:30 because you told me it was 10:30.
Because I assumed it was just off the back of last week. I got confused that was someone said 10:45 in my head.
Sorry? Oh crap, I don't know if I turned the Wi-Fi. Oh crap, I turned the Wi-Fi. Can we do a thing with Lily's plugs, so just plug them in again. And just plug it into that one. Actually, don't space. The Wi-Fi's on, I accidentally switched off. This is an extension. Okay, guys, let's get started. Yeah, it was an accident. It should be up soon. Okay, next one. Actually, no. Before we go on to the next one. Okay, so I accidentally turned the Wi-Fi off, so it should be coming on soon. Okay, but very quickly is okay. So go on. So go on. Go on. Intisar. What's Islam? Okay, good. Submission to Allah. But how do you say that to a non-Muslim? Submission to Allah sounds a bit scary. One true, sorry?
Creator.
One true creator, okay? Or? Not worship completely. To the will of God. Yeah, submission to the will of God. And what's a Muslim? Everyone tell me the answer? Someone submits to the will of God. And sisters, why do you Muslims say that all the prophets were Muslims, Jesus was a Muslim, you're claiming everyone for yourself? Why is that? But why do you say that Jesus was a Muslim, Moses was a Muslim?
Because they all preach the same message.
Just because they preach the same message, why does that make them a Muslim? Sisters? I'm looking for the perfect answer. Because they what, sorry?
They all submit to Allah.
They all submit it. Okay, what's that got to do with being a Muslim? So I'm asking from a non-Muslim perspective, you're just confusing me. So I wanted to very simply laid out the answer. From the brothers? Because they all submitted to the will of God. And so here you're missing out the key thing. The word Muslim means someone that submits to the will of God. Yeah? So it's all about how you phrase your answer. Yeah? So the word Muslim means someone that submits to the will of God. Everyone understood? Yeah? It's just because everyone's intellectual capabilities are very different. So you have to be able to lay things out very simply. So let's try it again. Someone asks you, why do you Muslims say that Jesus was a Muslim, Moses was a Muslim, Abraham Muslim? They were Muslims. They were in the Bible. You know, they belong to different religions. Why are you claiming them all for yourself? So go on, how would you answer, everyone?
Because Muslim just means person who submits to the will of God.
Good. The word Muslim just means someone who submits to the will of God. We believe Jesus, Moses, Abraham submitted to the will of God. Now there's no tension between us. We're completely on the same page. Yeah? But if you give like a different answer, or because they preach the same message, but they didn't preach the same message, now you're opening another can of worms. Okay, now let's debate on whether they preach the same message or not. Or you're opening. So different answers will create more tension. So this answer, there's no tension. We're on the same page now. We're both happy. Does that make sense, sisters?
So when they say, well, Jesus was a Jew, so how can he be a Muslim and a Jew?
Sorry. Yeah. So then now we're going into, if he was a Jew, but was as a Jew, did he submit to the will of God?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go. You've answered it.
I just think that was that.
Yeah.
For that question,
Yeah.
you take the opportunity to say more about Islam, or do you just keep it very brief and casual?
Of course. Here we're just, the purpose of this slide, so you guys came out half dead for some reason. Here we're just laying down the foundation, so we're all able to have these basic conversations. But of course, the purpose of all these conversations is a shahada in the end. So whatever leads to that, inshallah. Okay, so that's that. And sisters, why did God confuse us by sending down so many? And remember, this answer has two parts, yeah? Two parts. So sisters, why did God confuse us by sending down so many different religions? Full stop. And then you roll your sleeves up for a fight. You what? Yeah, God? Follow up with something.
Because actually the only reason that all the religions came to be, for example, is because they got corrupted. Because they all came with the same message, but then when they corrupted the Bible and the books of...
No, you're diverging. So remember the two parts of this answer. What are the two parts? Beliefs and laws. So let's start again. So you have to mention beliefs and you have to mention laws in this answer. Any answer is wrong. Any other answer, sorry. So let's start again. So go on. So why did God confuse us by sending down so many different religions?
Because, he didn't, but, oh my God. So he didn't, but the beliefs were the same, but the laws were different.
As a non-Muslim, I have no idea what that means. Beliefs were the same, laws were different.
Beliefs as in believing in one God and following their messenger, and that was still the same all the prophets and messengers, but the laws changed to suit the time.
What do you mean laws changed?
Laws as in
Laws are according to the time and place we are living in.
Okay, the answers are right. You just need to elaborate on what you're saying. So when you just say to a Muslim, laws changed, like what, the British UK laws changed over time? Like which laws are you talking about? It's just better to say the laws that the messengers brought changed over time. So there's no confusion. We're all on the same page. We know what laws that we're talking about. And then give an example. For example, the laws that Moses brought would be different to the laws that Jesus brought. So now we're all on the same page. We're all happy. We'll understand each other. So I know the answers are correct, which is when you half explain something, it doesn't incline that person towards your way of thinking, even though what you're saying is correct. So here, I'm not worried about being correct or not. We're all correct, but I'm just trying to get the wording right. Someone else? So go on. Ibtihaj. Why did God confuse us by sending down so many different messengers? So many different religions.
Well, he did it. He said that many prophets, and the prophets came with one central belief system of there being one God, a heaven and a hell, for example. But the individual laws that they came with for everyday life, like how to pray, for example, or when to fast, those might have been different from the time to place.
Okay, why were they different? Why didn't God just send down the same laws?
Because God knows us well and He understands us. He knows that at that certain time and place, certain laws might have been necessary or might have preferred their their way of life. But Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam specifically came for all of mankind, so His laws apply to all of us.
Okay, I'm doing good. Okay, good. Everyone. So when you answer this question, always remember the two-part answer. They came with the same beliefs, and mention examples. The more examples you mention, the more you and the other person will be on the same page. If you just mention one-liner, they came with the same beliefs, that's gonna go in one ear, come out the other ear, and you're not going to be on the same page. And at the end of the conversation, they'll still be confused, and you'll be confused why they're confused. You said all the right things. Mention they came with the same beliefs. For example, they preached the one true God, that He's the creator of the universe. They taught heaven, they taught hell, they taught about the day of judgment and the final hour, and so on and so on. Now we're all on the same page. There's no confusion. And then the beliefs that they taught, the laws that they brought were different. So when you said laws were different, like, it's still a bit of ambiguity there. And sister, can you see the slides?
Wait, stop. Can I try answering that question?
Yes. Can you see them now, sir? Can you log into Zoom? Is someone logging? Yeah, God Muhis.
Okay, so why would God send so many different religions?
Yeah.
So is He just doing this to confuse us?
Yeah.
So why would He do that? So the real answer is He didn't. He didn't send many different religions. So God has no incentive to send Hinduism and Sikhism and Buddhism and Islam and Christianity, who all contradict each other. Because if He did, it's like He's just doing that on purpose to banish us all to hell. So God would never do that. So the real question is, how to actually change that question. It's not why did He send so many religions, but why did He send so many different prophets and messengers who supposedly preached different things? And the way I would answer that is, they didn't preach. More or less, they preached the same message. So they all, if you look at Moses and Abraham, and even all the way up to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they all preached to worship one God. They all preached there's life after death, heaven and hell, right? So the general belief stayed the same. They all preached the same belief that there's one God and there's life after death, and there's heaven and hell, right? So however, the only difference between them is that they all preached different laws to their respective communities at the time. So Abraham told his people to follow a certain law. Jesus told his people to follow a certain law. Moses told his people to follow a certain law. Right? So the laws changed, but the general beliefs stayed the same. So why is it that we have all these different religions with different beliefs? Why is it that in Hinduism they believe in reincarnation and Christianity is life after death? So why is that? And then the reason is because it's not that the beliefs changed. God didn't change the beliefs, but over time people interpreted those beliefs, or over time the beliefs were changed, and new religions were kind of formed because of those differences between them.
Okay, good. MashaAllah, very good answer. One thing that we forgot to mention as well, there's difference between the two, in terms of religions, there's two types. One is actually those religions that were revealed by Allah. For example, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, they had a revealed message. And there were other people that didn't have a revealed message, they made it up. For example, like Hinduism, perhaps they did have some sort of origin where they got it from. Maybe, they got it from somewhere. But initially, these are man-made religions. Let's say Sikhism is a combination between Islam and Hinduism. And Hinduism, these are man-made religions. We're talking about revealed religion, talking about Christianity, Judaism, and, Okay, one question that I didn't answer, as we didn't discuss, was the last question on there. And I just wanted to see how you guys would have answered it with each other. Why did God send messages instead of talking to us directly? So again, just to this was initially aimed at our children, just to see how they'd answer that, improvising. So let's see, how would you guys answer that? Because it makes sense for God to just talk to us, doesn't it? Like, He wants us to obey Him and worship Him. If He just talked to us directly, I'm not going to refuse. It'd be so much easier. So let's say Hendrix first, and then Ayaz.
So you have to look at why God created the world, which was to test us. So if this is a test, and then He just gives us all the answers, it's a pretty rubbish test, to be honest. So there's certain things that we have to follow, and then we have to believe without seeing. For example, we believe in gravity, but you haven't seen it. We believe in God, but we haven't seen Him, but we see His effects.
Perfect. Alhamdulillah. Anything else to add to that?
Yeah. If God send us message, if God speaks to us directly, the whole question about free will disappears.
It'd still be free will. I'd still have a choice to reject Him or accept it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And the other thing as well, we need to see the examples
of how we should live our life according to God's directives. So we need those messages to see that.
Could have done both. Could have showed himself and then sent messengers. Yeah.
And the third thing for that is that, well, I don't know how you prove this, but we know it's overwhelming to see God's majesty and see that we understand in Christianity and Islam that it's not possible to see God's majesty.
Okay, that is an answer that scholars give as well. They give the example of Musa alayhi salam in the Quran, where he wanted to see Allah, and when Allah, how do they say, his light appeared, or but then he fainted, isn't it? But then they would say, okay, isn't God capable of exposing himself to us in a way that we can see him? Okay, yeah. So the main thing is, anything else to add?
Can you just limit it to that's how Allah chose it to be? Like you said, yeah, you're opening up a whole can of worms, yeah. Whichever answer you come up with, it's like, yeah, he could have chose that you can, you're not going to be overwhelmed by his glory. He can do whatever he chooses to.
That's true, and that is absolutely correct. But I would refrain from that answer, because we can give the answer to every one of these questions. Yeah. So, like the purpose of da'wah and to speak to non-Muslims is to open up their fitrah, to open up their fitrah, to make them more inclined towards seeing our worldview and saying, you know what, I see where you're coming from. You know what, I see where you're coming from. It makes sense. I see the wisdom behind this. So it's to get them to open up. Once they say that, then their heart will be more perceptive towards inclining our message. Because if they're intellectually tapped out, it's very hard to get the heart involved. So yes, I can give the answer. But generally what I would say to a non-Muslim here is, if God just showed himself to us, that, okay, the purpose of life, number one, is a test. And number two, it's a test to see who is willing to yearn for God, look for God, seek his love, seek his approval, to get that deep connection without having to see him. If God just showed himself to us, all of us will feel this compulsion to do it. So that yearning, looking for him, that all of that will be gone. And generally the purpose of our creation is for us to build this relationship, a loving relationship with God. So that we, without seeing him, we're looking for him, praying to him, asking for him, and so on. And if it's to just show himself, then that whole purpose of our existence will be gone. The purpose of our existence in this world is to go through a spiritual journey with a heart in trying to find God.
Seek God, yeah.
And then when you say it like that, be like, okay, maybe they'll say, I don't agree with you, but okay, I see where you're coming from. Yeah, sir.
I was going to say, if we just boil it down to maybe the human aspect, that all the messages came down, they were human, they were just like us, so we're more likely to accept messages from them. Say, for example, if God spoke to us directly and asked us to pray 5 times a day, maybe we could argue back saying, that's too long, that's too hard. Whereas where messages have come down and they've prayed as human beings.
But here you're assuming something. The assumption is, if God showed himself, he wouldn't have sent down messengers. Because God could have showed himself and sent down messengers to be a practical demonstration.
I would give like an example. Like imagine if God was in our ears constantly, like influencing all our decisions. It's like a video game where like you spawn in, but like you have all of the game passes, and like you have all of the books and like your max level. So it's like, what's the point of the game if I have everything? But like if it's the fact that you have to seek him out adds that challenge aspect. It's like playing Minecraft on peaceful mode, but you'd rather play on like hard mode.
I know a lot of people that just go through the easy mode because they want to get that buzz, quick buzz. Okay, but yeah, that'd be a good example for like young people maybe. Yeah, maybe you can, yeah. Okay, so now to move on, what I want is, because I wasn't happy with most of our answers when it came to why did God send so many different religions to confuse us. Yeah, so all answers were correct, the sisters' answers were correct, but it wasn't articulated properly in terms of the beliefs with examples, and then what was different was laws. For example, between Jesus and Muhammad, or Moses and Jesus, who they'll accept. Does that make sense? So I just want you to articulate that answer just to that. So everyone just say it to the person next to you, and the other person say it back. Just that one question. Yeah? Just practice. And if your partner makes a mistake in articulation, correct them. Yeah? So make sure you mention both of these, and don't just mention one-liners. Pretend you're talking to a non-Muslim that has no clue what you're talking about. So don't mention one-liners. They came with the same beliefs but different laws. That does not do anything for anyone. Explain it in a paragraph, please. Yeah? So go on, just literally 2 minutes, 1 minute each. So go on, just explain that one answer to the person next to you. We've heard Muhiz, so maybe Muhiz you can listen to someone.
Why would God send so many religions? Like, why does he do
And all of those prophets came with the same belief. For example, the belief in one God that created us, the belief in a heaven and a hell. Those always stayed the same. But the laws that affected day-to-day life, depending on the civilization, the time period that it was sent to, those laws might be slightly different. So they all came with the same belief, which is what a religion is. But the laws of the day-to-day life might be slightly different. But Muhammad came down to all of mankind specifically. So his laws apply to all of us.
If all of the messages gave the same beliefs, why do you have so many different beliefs on the Islam?
I would say to you that
I'd say the same thing.
over time,
Two aspects.
so talk about beliefs.
Oh yeah, this is the laws part. I don't think it makes sense.
Laws, yeah. So each messenger brought about different laws in at that particular time. Those particular. So each time a new messenger comes, the old laws will come about with the new revelation.
Okay, a few more seconds. Oh no. Is my bag there, Nafisa? Okay, let's get started. Next slide. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so far we all should be on the same page, inshallah. So we've gone through Tawheed. What does Tawheed mean, everyone? Tawheed? Proclaiming the oneness of Allah. And then we've gone through Islam. Islam means submission, and also the name of the religion. We've gone through, what's the next concept? Muslim. Muslim is what? Yes, the word Muslim. This is what I normally say. Whenever I talk to a non-Muslim, I say the word Muslim. Always, the word Muslim means someone that submits. Yeah? So just so we're on the same page. And all prophets were Muslims because they all submitted to the will of God. That's all it is. And so we're not trying to hijack anyone. That's what they think, isn't it? You're trying to hijack and deceive us and trying to... Yeah, so we're not hijacking anyone. Just the word Muslim means this. What else? Did we discuss anything else? Any other concepts? And then we discussed the major question. Why did God send so many different religions? To confuse us. And then a two-part answer. Beliefs and laws. Okay, let's move forward. Okay, and just as a disclaimer for the new guys, and I have to make sure because I mentioned this disclaimer, is so in terms of now moving on, so everyone here most likely knows all of this stuff already. We're just doing what you call mudhakara, like a discussion of just exchanging our notes with each other. So most of us will know all of this stuff. So I'm just one student of knowledge, passing on some of my notes to other students of knowledge. That's all it is. So knowledge that I'll have, I'll share with you. If you have knowledge, you share with me and all of us here, inshallah. And for the next parts, my notes are completely all over the place. So I have no idea, like I don't have access to my notes basically. So let's just see how it goes, inshallah. Okay, so let's see. Actually, we can do brother yes. Or can someone just press the off button on the recording and just start a new one?